Seminole Soil and Water Conservation District was established in 1948, and much of the physical documents have been achieved for decades. It has been noted that this is one of the most complete data compilations available by a local governing agency. This history includes the district's activities with information that extends into adjacent and surrounding counties of Central Florida. As chair of the Seminole Soil and Water Conservation District, Judith Benson recognized the value and significance of this history. Vice Chair Donald Menzel was instrumental in the collaboration process with the RICHES Program. We view the digitizing and sharing of these documents as a way to give back to the citizens of Central Florida, providing transparency and increased access to Seminole's history. The supervisors of the Seminole Soil and Water Conservation District would like to thank you for your interest and support of our efforts, and express our heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Connie L. Lester, Ph.D. of the RICHES Program.
Okay, thank you. I'm very happy to be here tonight and to tell you about the project that we're doing with the Soil and Water Conservation District. They contacted us sometime earlier about materials that they had that needed preservation, and they really did need preservation, and one way to preserve them is to digitize them. The RICHES project is a big digital project. RICHES stands for the Regional Initiative to Collect History, Experiences, and Stories. But we're not rich. That's as close as historians get to wealth. So, as we looked at this project, the records go all the way back to the very beginning of the commission to 1948, and they're in very bad need of preservation, both the physical copy and to be digitized. So I brought a couple of things for you to see tonight. This is the way we get the records. They are in folders like this. As you can see, they're on carbon paper. They're very fragile. They've been placed in areas where they didn't have air conditioning or climate control of any kind. This is actually very good. Some of these, and I'm not going to hold up this one, but I will tell you, after we took it apart and put it in acid-free folders, some of them, especially the early ones, have been torn and then taped back together. So it was very hard to get the pages apart because in the heat the pages had stuck together. We took it apart, we put it in acid-free folders. My next step is to get someone from the library to help me see how to stabilize those pages that are torn, so that they're in the best shape they can be. And then we place them in boxes like this so that they're organized and people can use them. But in digitizing them, we think that will be the best way for the public to be able to see them and use them, because they can't really be made available for people to handle because of the shape that they're in. So that's what we're in the process of doing, is digitizing them. And so I want to walk you through what will happen to them as they are digitized and how people will be able to use them going forward. So when they go up on the website, so what we are doing with the program, we engage scholars in this program in an interdisciplinary collaboration. So we have people from a number of different disciplines who are working with us on this. And we want to facilitate interaction between the community and the university so that people can use the things we put in there and they can benefit from the expertise that people have at the university. It's an interactive database that provides tools for you to be able to search and analyze and visualize and learn the historical process as you're working on the website. And we're creating new digital tools for people to be able to do a variety of things on this website. So as I walk you through this, you'll be able to see some of the things that you can do. All right, so if you do the next one. So there are actually two ways to get into the database. You could come to the RICHES website, and this tells you about the project. It tells you the various projects we have going forward, the kinds of work that we're doing. You can see, you can go to the interface, which is where the database is. You can look at the various projects that we have, the new collections, forms for doing oral histories and those sorts of things, and who our partners are. At the moment, I just had to make a report to the dean, and at the moment we have 62 partners, and those are 62 working partners. Those are not just names of partners. They're people like the Soil and Water Conservation District, the Seminole County Museum of History, the Sanford Museum, all of these various organizations that are working with us to put things on the site, okay? So we integrate this in various kinds of ways. We have museums and historical societies and cultural sites. We have student projects. A lot of students are working on this, both undergraduate and graduate students. We would welcome projects coming from high school students too, because we know they could do some of this work as well. And they create exhibits and collections as they're working on the site. We also have, and we've done quite a few of these now, we have what we call history harvests. And that's where we work with a community group and we ask them to bring artifacts. They bring photographs and documents and three-dimensional artifacts, and we digitize them. They go home with their items. We give them a copy of the digitized material, and then we put it up on our site. And that's how we get history from the bottom up, because most of this stuff never ends up in an archive. But we make it available for people to tell the story of ordinary folks as they're working. So on the website, you can go into the archive. You can use a tool that we call the Connections tool, and you can use a tool that we call the Book Bag. And so we're going to look at those three things for you to see what all you can do on this site, okay? All right, so when you come on the site, on the RICHES Mosaic Interface site, and this is the working part of the site, the first thing you'll see is that we have a map. That's a Google map. You can do everything you can do with a Google map. This is the satellite view. You can go to the street view, the map view. You can zoom in and zoom out as you want to. One of the things we want people to see is that something that happens in Longwood or in Sanford or in Orlando may have connections across the world. So the map will have pins. When the items come up, it will create pins on the map. And for instance, we do veterans oral histories. So those veterans oral histories will have a pin on the map here in Orlando, and then wherever the person served, there will be a pin. We want people to see that the local is global. We have letters from the Chasen Company, the agribusiness company. Those letters often had pins all over the country as well. So we can begin to see that it may happen here, but it has ramifications in other places. So when you first come on, you see the map. You will see featured collections, and those featured collections change daily, so it rotates around, and featured items. You could click on one of those and it would show you the item or the collection so that you can begin to get started and see what kinds of things we have. I always tell people we have a lot of things, but we're not Google yet, so we don't have everything. So you can go on there and it'll tell you we don't have that if you're looking for something that we haven't gotten to yet. You can then go up to search or browse at the top and begin to look for things on your own, okay? So when you pull up something, and I'm looking at this collection we have from Sky Lake, We have drawings and maps of that subdivision because it was one of the first integrated subdivisions in Orlando. And so we have quite a bit from that. So when you pull it up, you can see the whole collection is pulled up over here. You can see that the map is now zoomed in, and there are 39 pins sitting over there. You can zoom in closer and those pins will spread apart so that you can see exactly what you're looking at. What you see is this is a pamphlet that was connected with Skylake, so you see a little image of it up there at the top. You can make that a full screen image. You can see that there's text that tells you about it. This at the bottom here is a tool that we have generated. We call it the Connections tool. It's an algorithm, and I want you to notice the historian used the word algorithm. I can't tell you how to do it, but I know that's what we did. So it's an algorithm that was created by the computer scientists, and it measures 4 things. It looks at location, it looks at time, it looks at tags, and it looks at topics. And when it looks at that, then it compares it to other things in the database, and it shows you other things that are connected to that. You can change the parameters if you want to. That's what that little drop-down menu does. So you could just look at tags and time, or you could look at location and topics if you wanted to do it that way. And it draws this tree, the tree diagram. You can actually navigate the site using the tree diagram, because you could click on one of those other things that are in the tree and it would move over here and it would create a new set of connections, so that you can begin to see how things in the database are connected to one another, and you're not just looking at separate things. Okay. Now I showed you that one because here's one from the Seminole County Soil and Water Board, and you see that it's only connected to other reports over here at this point in time. That's because we haven't gotten up the things on the database that will help you see how it's connected to other things yet. So one of the things we have coming, and it's going to take a little while, it won't be tomorrow when we have it. We worked with the Seminole County Museum of History and worked with one of our partners who's in the tech business and digitized 100 years of the Sanford Herald. Okay, it's a terabyte of data. They just gave it to us. We are now working with it so that it's searchable, it becomes searchable. When it becomes searchable, there are all kinds of things in these reports that ought to be in the Sanford Herald. So I've already been looking through the reports, and there are references to events that took place. In 1949, there was a big event that they said drew 35,000 people to see this conservation presentation. That should be, the Sanford Herald was a sponsor of that, and so it should be in the Sanford Herald. And so when we get to that point, you'll start to see connections between those events. There's another environmental study that we're doing with the Friends of Lake Apopka, and I imagine there are going to be some connections that will start to come up between these reports and the Friends of Lake Apopka as well. We're still too early in what we're doing here for it to show up in that database, but it should start showing up soon. So I just wanted you to see how that's going to look and how you'll be able to navigate it and see the connections with other things. Okay? All right, you can also go into the archive. There was a button at the top of that map page that said archive, and when you click on that, you go into the archive that's behind, and you can get a lot more information about a single item that's in there. So here's a copy of the document. If you clicked on that, you would get a full page of the document. You can see the collection that it's in. You can see the description. If you scrolled on down through that, you would see other kinds of things too. You would see if there were websites that might help you understand this more, those websites would be in there. If there were articles or pamphlets or books that dealt with this, those would be in there as well, so you could click on that. If you could get it digitally, you would be able to get it from our website. Okay? So what we're trying to do is connect everything together. So I don't know if you've ever explored databases before, but oftentimes you go on there and you can get a single item, and then you can get another single item, and then you can get a third single item. We want you to be able to connect them together so that they begin to flesh out a story for you. So we want you to be able to search and browse. We want you to see the connections. We want you to be able to save what's of importance to you so that you can find it again. So one of the things that we have on the site is a book bag. You can create your own personal book bag. All right, so let's look at that. So when you create a book bag, it allows you to put items in your book bag, and when you come back the next time, you can find it again. You don't have to go back in the database to find what's interesting to you. So in the book bag, this is what the page looks like in the book bag. You can create folders, and you can put things in your folder. It will show you, once again, the description. It will give you a thumbnail of the image, but this time it also shows you references that you might want to look at that are connected to this item. Some of them you can just click on and go to, some you'll have to do a little more work because they haven't been digitized. It shows you what collection it is in, and because we can create exhibits on the site, if there's an exhibit associated with it, you can see what that is, and you can click on the exhibit and you can see how we put it together as a story. It puts everything in your folder on a timeline, so you can see how it fits in time. You can annotate the individual item. So you can put your own information there, how you would plan to use this, how it fits with something else you were looking at, and you can save it and it'll be there when you come back. There are other things you can do in the book bag as well. You can see the annotation up at the top, the timeline. It also puts the pins on the map for you, so you can see how the things in a folder fit in space as well as in time. Go ahead. It draws the connections for you, and in the book bag, unlike on the map page, in the book bag, if you clicked on one of those items, it would give you a little thumbnail sketch so you know something more about it, and you can click on it and put it in your folder. You don't have to go back into the database to put it in your folder. So it enables you to add things. This at the bottom, to me, is the kind of the best part of it. So this at the bottom is a storyboard. If you click on, you see the little cloud bubble beside it. If you click on an item on the little cloud, it puts it on the storyboard. You can move it around. You can add text at the bottom. So you can begin to create your own story, your own interpretation of how all this fits together. We think this is a way for people to begin to think about their own history. They can go through and select things and begin to work with the history themselves. So it's not just a matter of seeing it, it's a matter of presenting an opportunity for you to work with it. Okay, the next slide. So we're doing a lot of projects, and here are some of the ones that I've told you about, the Sanford Herald newspaper archive. That's going to take us a little while to get that up and running because it is so big. We're doing oral histories with the Orlando Gay Chorus after the Pulse event. We're doing oral histories with them because they're part of the community. They had friends who were affected by this, and they sang at every vigil. So they have a unique perspective on what happened in Orlando. We have you up there. The Epinol project is one that we're doing. This is really far afield. Epinal is a community in France. There's a World War II cemetery there. They are working with us because they want the next generation to know about the people who are buried there. The U.S. government takes care of the cemetery, but they want the people in their community to know about them. So it turns out there are 85 Floridians buried in that cemetery, and we are working to identify them. It's really difficult. It's a big project. Our undergraduate students are working on this. It's a big project because these are 19, 20, 22-year-old men. They didn't leave any collection of papers. Many of them are African American, and so finding who they were and telling a story about them has been a really rewarding but difficult project. And our students at the end of the semester often say, especially about the African American men, they will say, we felt like that these were men who were invisible in their own time, and we are making them visible again. We've been very fortunate in that in their work they have made contact with a number of families. Many of them don't live in Florida anymore, but they've been able to find them and make contact with them. We're doing the Oakland Nature Preserve and the Friends of Lake Apopka. We have 4 graduate students who are working on their master's theses using the RICHES project. We're doing the History Harvest. I received a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to do History Harvests in 3 communities. The Paramore community, we're working with Jones High School, and we plan to do a video, a documentary video of the 1964 Jones High School and Edgewater bands went to the 1964 World's Fair, and we're doing a video on that. We're working with the LGBT community, as I already indicated, and then we're doing a history harvest with the Cocoa Beach community on the glass bank. So if you were connected to the internet, you could click on that and you could see that before the glass bank was torn down, we did a 3D scan of the glass bank, and we recreated the glass bank. You can go inside, you can move around it. What we're going to do is collect oral histories and memorabilia that people have about the glass bank, so that you see it not just as a piece of architecture, but as something that was living in the community, that people had real memories connected to this. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're doing here as well, is to remind people of what happened. There are some really interesting stories in here, and you can see the progression as the organization becomes more and more involved, more and more connected, both to the community and to the technical community. So they're involved with the Extension Service, they're involved with the Soil Conservation Service, of course. They're involved with a number of different agencies. And as those connections begin to come into place, it's a very rich story. And by the time you're in the late 50s, not before, but by the time you're in the late 50s, they're in the schools, they're sponsoring speaking contests, they're working with the FFA. They are creating information for what they call Conservation Sunday. So churches, ministers preach a conservation sermon on particular Sundays. All of these sorts of things that you start to see in what might have been initially perceived as a kind of dry report. But in fact, it's very rich in the community history that you begin to uncover here. And we're very happy to be doing this and very grateful to be doing this. So thank you very much. If there are questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
So when you receive the materials, like from Soil and Water,
Mm-hmm.
where do you store them? Do you store them actually out there at UCF?
No, not unless they decide, they want to store them. We don't. RICHES does not have a physical space to store things. They might explore the UCF Special Collections or something like that for a place to store them. But what I'm doing at the moment is putting them in shape to give them back to the Soil and Water District, so that they can place them wherever they want to place them. But we're digitizing them so that they're available. Yeah.
And Dr. Lester, how long do you anticipate this project taking?
Well, it will take some time. One, because of the preservation part of it that we'll be doing as well, to stabilize the collection as much as possible. A lot of what's there are reports, both the annual report and soil reports and water reports that they did, but there are also a large number of maps, and those maps are often quite big. We plan to digitize those maps, and one other group of scholars at UCF very interested in the maps, in fact they've been out to look at the maps already, are the people who do GIS, global geographic information systems. And so we have a large number of students who are involved in those classes and have class projects that they work on. And having access to the various maps that are there is something they're really excited about. Yeah. Well, fun. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Lester.
Okay.